Karen kicked out a black man from gym. He was the owner. The midday sun beat down on the pristine white facade of the Olympus Club, a fitness center that catered to the city's elite. Inside, the air conditioning hummed, a stark contrast to the sweltering heat outside. The scent of eucalyptus and expensive sweat mingled in the air, a testament to the dedication and disposable income of its members. Karen strode through the gleaming lobby, her designer gym bag swinging from her perfectly toned shoulder. She was a regular here, a fixture in this temple of sculpted physiques and green smoothies. Her presence was as meticulously crafted as her appearance. The flawless blonde hair, the expertly applied makeup, the athleisure wear that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Karen believed in order. She believed in rules, especially the ones that reinforced her sense of superiority. She had a well-honed sense of entitlement, a conviction that her comfort and convenience were paramount. And she wasn't shy about enforcing her personal sense of justice, even if it meant making others feel small. Today, her target was about to become all too clear. She breezed through the main workout area, nodding curtly at the personal trainer she recognized, her eyes scanning the room with a proprietary air. She was looking for her usual spot, a corner of the yoga studio where the light was just right, and the view of the pool was particularly inspiring for her workout selfies, of course. As she approached the studio, she noticed a man standing near the entrance, talking to one of the front desk staff. He was black, tall and powerfully built, with an air of quiet authority. He wasn't wearing workout clothes. Instead, he was dressed in a sharp, tailored suit. This, in Karen's mind, was already a violation of the unspoken dress code of the Olympus Club. Karen frowned. She didn't recognize him. She knew most of the members, or at least, she knew the ones who mattered, the ones who moved in her social circles, the ones who validated her status. This man was different. He didn't fit the mold. She marched towards the front desk, her expression a carefully calibrated mix of annoyance and disdain. The receptionist, a young woman named Emily, looked flustered. "Excuse me," Karen said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the ambient music. "What is he doing here? He's not even dressed to work out." She gestured dismissively at the man in the suit. Emily stammered, "Ms. Karen, this is Mr. David. He's the owner of the gym." Karen blinked, her perfect facade cracking for a millisecond. Owner? This man was the owner? That couldn't be right. Owners were supposed to be older, white, and impeccably groomed, like Mr. Harrison, the previous owner, who had always greeted her with a sycophantic smile. "Owner?" Karen repeated, her voice dripping with incredulity. "You must be mistaken. I've been a member here for years, and I've never seen him before." David, who had been listening to the exchange with a mixture of amusement and irritation, turned to face Karen. He had heard it all before. The subtle digs, the thinly veiled assumptions, the casual racism that often lurked beneath the polished veneer of high society. "I assure you, ma'am, I am the owner," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I recently acquired the Olympus Club." Karen's eyes narrowed. She didn't like being corrected, especially not by someone she considered to be beneath her. "Well," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "I'm not sure I understand why you're here dressed like that. This is a gym, not a boardroom. You're making the members uncomfortable." She gestured around, though no one was paying them any attention. David raised an eyebrow. "I assure you, ma'am, my attire is hardly a threat to anyone's workout. I was here to meet with the staff and discuss some upcoming renovations." "Renovations?" Karen sniffed. "This place doesn't need renovations. It's perfect. Or at least it was, before, she trailed off, searching for a suitably dismissive word. "Before I arrived?" David finished for her, his tone dry. Karen flushed. "Well, yes, I mean, it had a certain ambiance, a certain clientele. I'm just concerned that you might be changing things. For the worse. I can assure you, Ms. Karen," she supplied, her tone softening slightly, as she realized that outright hostility might not be the most effective tactic with the actual owner. "Ms. Karen," David continued, "my goal is to improve the Olympus Club, to make it even better for all of our members. That includes maintaining the high standards you're accustomed to, but also making it more inclusive and welcoming to everyone." "Inclusive?" Karen's lip curled. I'm not sure I like the sound of that. This gym has always been exclusive. That's part of its appeal. Exclusive is one thing, David said, his voice hardening slightly. Discrimination is another, and I won't tolerate it. Karen bristled. Discrimination? I'm not discriminating. I'm simply stating a fact. This gym has a certain reputation, and that reputation is built on attracting a certain type of member. And what type of member is that, Miss Karen? David asked, his gaze unwavering. Karen hesitated. She knew she was treading on thin ice, but she couldn't back down now, not when she was so close to making her point. People who value excellence, she said, her voice dripping with self-righteousness. People who are successful. People who fit in. And who decides who fits in, Ms. Karen? David asked, his voice dangerously low. You! Karen opened her mouth to retort, but the words caught in her throat. She saw the look in David's eyes, a mixture of disappointment, anger, and a weariness that spoke volumes about the prejudice he had faced in his life. For the first time, Karen felt a flicker of unease, a sense that maybe, just maybe, she had crossed a line. But she was Karen, and Karen didn't back down. I'm just saying, she insisted, her voice trembling slightly, that some people are more comfortable around people like themselves. It's human nature. It's human nature to be prejudiced, David asked, his voice incredulous. Is that what you're saying? No, Karen protested, her face flushed. I'm not prejudiced. I have standards. Standards, David repeated, his voice flat. Or prejudices dressed up as standards. I'll tell you what my standards are, Ms. Karen. My standards are that everyone is treated with respect, regardless of their race, their background, or their bank account. My standards are that this gym is a place where everyone feels welcome and safe. And if that's not the kind of standard you can live with, then perhaps the Olympus Club isn't the right fit for you. The implication hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. David, the owner, was telling Karen, the longtime member, that she might not belong. Karen was stunned. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. She was supposed to be the one in control, the one dictating the terms. She was a valued member, a pillar of the community, a woman of influence. How dare he speak to her like this? Are you kicking me out? She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. David sighed. He didn't want to do this, but he saw no other way. Karen's arrogance was not only offensive, it was a threat to the inclusive environment he was trying to create. Not today, Ms. Karen, he said, his voice firm, but I suggest you take some time to reconsider your attitude, because if I hear of you making another member feel unwelcome, you will be asked to leave. Is that clear? Karen stared at him, her face a mask of disbelief and fury. She had been humiliated, publicly and decisively, and by a man she had initially dismissed as nothing. Without a word, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the gym, her designer gym bag swinging wildly behind her. She didn't go to the yoga studio. She didn't even bother to pick up her usual green smoothie. She just wanted to get out of there, to escape the shame and the anger that were consuming her. David watched her go, a deep sigh escaping his lips. He didn't take any pleasure in the confrontation, but he knew it had been necessary. The Olympus Club was his now, and he was determined to make it a reflection of his values, not Karen's. The incident, however, was far from over. Karen, seething with resentment, wasted no time in unleashing her fury. She took to social media, posting a carefully crafted narrative of the encounter, painting herself as the victim of a reverse discrimination, and David as an unreasonable, power-hungry tyrant. Her post went viral. Her followers, many of whom shared her privileged background and her skewed worldview, rallied to her defense. They flooded the Olympus Club's social media pages with negative reviews, accusing David of racism and demanding a boycott of the gym. The local news picked up the story, eager to capitalize on the controversy. They ran segments on the gym owner versus the wrong socialite, framing it as a clash of cultures, a battle between the old guard and the new. Karen, fueled by the attention and the validation, became a media sensation. She appeared on talk shows, gave interviews to magazines, and even started a podcast, all dedicated to exposing the truth about the Olympus Club and its radical owner. In her version of the story, she was a champion of free speech, a defender of traditional values, a woman who had dared to speak truth to power. She conveniently omitted her own condescending remarks, her blatant assumptions, and her thinly veiled racism. David, meanwhile, found himself at the center of a firestorm. He received death threats, his family was harassed, and the Olympus Club was vandalized. He tried to defend himself to explain his side of the story, but his voice was drowned out by the cacophony of outrage and misinformation. The gym's membership plummeted. People who had once flocked to the Olympus Club for its exclusivity and its prestige now stayed away, afraid of being associated with the controversy. The business that David had poured his heart and soul into was crumbling before his eyes. He was tempted to give up, to retreat from the toxic environment that Karen had created. But he knew he couldn't. He had a responsibility to his staff, to his community, and to himself. He had to fight back. He started by reaching out to his remaining members, the ones who had stayed loyal despite the backlash. He organized town hall meetings where he listened to their concerns, addressed their fears, and reaffirmed his commitment to creating a welcoming and inclusive space. He also launched a social media campaign of his own, showcasing the diversity of the Olympus Club's membership, highlighting the positive impact the gym had on the community, and sharing stories of personal transformation and empowerment. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. People started to see through Karen's carefully constructed facade. They realized that she was not a victim, but a perpetrator, a woman who had used her privilege to try to silence and destroy someone who didn't fit her narrow definition of acceptable. The truth prevailed. David's integrity, his resilience, and his unwavering commitment to his values won out in the end. The Olympus Club recovered, stronger and more vibrant than before. It became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of diversity and inclusion. Karen, on the other hand, faced the consequences of her actions. Her reputation was in ruins, her social circle dwindled, and her attempts to rebuild her image were met with skepticism and scorn. She became a pariah, a cautionary tale of what happens when privilege is used to oppress rather than uplift. The experience forced Karen to confront her own prejudices, her own arrogance, and her own complicity in a system that perpetuated inequality. It was a long and painful process, but eventually she began to change. She started by volunteering at a local community center, working with people from all walks of life. She listened to their stories, learned about their struggles, and began to understand the depth of her own ignorance. She also sought therapy, grappling with the underlying insecurities and fears that had fueled her need to control and dominate others. She realized that her sense of superiority was nothing more than a fragile defense mechanism, a way to protect herself from her own vulnerability. It was a slow and arduous journey, but Karen was determined to transform herself. She knew she could never fully erase the damage she had done, but she could try to make amends, to use her experience to educate others, and to become a force for good in the world. Years later, Karen was a different woman. She was no longer defined by her wealth or her social status, but by her humility, her empathy, and her commitment to fighting for justice. She became an advocate for diversity and inclusion, working tirelessly to dismantle the systems of oppression that she had once taken for granted. She even reached out to David, offering a heartfelt apology for her past behavior. David, remembering his own struggles and the importance of forgiveness, accepted her apology with grace and compassion. Karen's transformation was a testament to the power of redemption, the possibility of change, and the enduring truth that even the most deeply ingrained prejudices can be overcome. It was a story of a woman who had once tried to kick a black man out of his own gym, and who in the end learned to embrace the beauty and strength of human diversity